Hello friends, it's Tanya with Tinker and Ink with Tanya, and it's time for another Creating Kindness blog hop. This time I'm going to make this card using Concord and 9th's Grateful for Everything stamp set. And the theme for this Creating Kindness blog hop this month is using Reinkers. I'm going to use them today to do some watercoloring. I'm using Distress inks, not the Distress oxides, the plain Distress inks, because I wanted the extra vibrancy that the Distress inks provide. So I sponged on some Lucky Clover on a piece of Canson XL watercolor paper. It's a 4.5 by 6-inch panel. And then I'm spritzed it with some pearlized water, which is just perfect pearls in the pearl color mixed in some water in a spray bottle. I wanted some more variation in the color and more spotchiness. I wanted more of the watercolor look to it. So I added another layer of the Lucky Clover ink with the ink blender after I dried it with the heat tool, spritzed it again, and dried it with my heat tool again. And here's the fun part, the reveal. I love pulling the tape back. I also took a stitched rectangle die and cut that out to a panel that's roughly 4 inches by 5.25. Now I've got another piece of watercolor paper, also 4.5 by 6 inches. I just took a 9 by 12 inch panel and cut it down into 4 pieces. And this is the large floral image from the Concord and 9th Grateful for Everything stamp set. This came out last year, I believe, in their August release. It's a gorgeous stamp. I adore it. You can make this whatever season you want, but it is kind of fall-ish. Now I'm using the Reinkers. I'm just taking a little drop of Reinker and putting it on my craft mat. And that first drop is crushed olive. And the second one is Mowed lawn. And I add a drop of water with an eyedropper next to each Reinker drop and mix that up. I do have to dab it off on a towel a little bit because it's too wet. The paintbrush is too wet otherwise. And I'm using the crushed olive to paint the oak leaf on this. And oak leaves usually turn kind of a brown. I suppose there's white oaks and red oaks, and the white oaks, the leaves turn kind of brown when they fall off, and the red oaks, they turn red, I imagine. I think I have a red oak and a white oak in my yard, or multiples of each. You have no idea how many trees are in my yard. So this is Mowed lawn, and I'm using that to paint the leaves of the flower in this background. I sped this up, I think, 4 times. I think it took me about 20 minutes to paint this entire floral image, and I was by no means rushing through it. Just taking my time, adding more and more color, trying to add some shadows and variation in color. I keep adding more of the Mowed lawn back in where the shadows would show and along the leaf veins, and just keep going back. I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about, maybe I'll add that I mixed some of the Mowed lawn and the crushed olive together to create this third color of green for some of the other leaves. I try to make the leaves each kind of leaf a different color of green. Let's talk a little bit more about the Creating Kindness blog hop. It's a group of people that I've met through the stamping world, and we have decided to share projects from around the world. So there's people from England, there's people from Australia, Canada, the US. I believe there's somebody from New Zealand. We're from all over the place. Probably Oh gosh, I can't remember all of the countries we're from, but it'd be great to go check out everybody's projects. Please leave a little love behind each time you go. We want to be kind to each other. All right, so now I did add some Lucky Clover to deepen the flower leaves. And this is mustard seed on the largest flower on there. Now I'm adding some wild honey, ripe persimmon, and candied apple in drops on the craft mat. In retrospect, I probably should have put those on a block or a palette because you'll see, I keep sliding my watercolor panel into the ink drops on the craft mat. I had actually dropped a little bit of wild honey onto the watercolor paper right on one of those buds. So it actually wasn't so bad. I just added a little water and colored those. The berries I initially colored in ripe persimmon. And I'm going back and adding some ripe persimmon to the buds. And I'm going to add some to the larger flower here too. They do dry back a bit. And I'm just going to keep adding layers of color to this to get that depth of color that I really was looking for. I do believe that is still just ripe persimmon. And I added the candied apple to the berries. Here I'm blending that out a little more on the large flower to make those harsh lines disappear. And then I'm adding some mowed lawn to the oak leaf, to the vein area. I'm looking for more shadows on those. And while I was painting the leaves, I put my hand right in those berries. You'll see me try to fix those later. So now I'm going to take some Perfect Pearls and add it to some water right on my craft mat because I want a more intense shimmer over the flowers and a little bit over the leaves. I think that adds a lot to the finished product when you're done. And I'll just wipe it off of the mat when I'm done. Doesn't take hardly any. I just dipped the end of my paintbrush in the pot of Perfect Pearls and added that. Gave it a quick heat set. And then I'm going to die cut with the coordinating die. I also have a piece of chipboard. I taped a couple squares together to get the right size and die cut that in the matching with the die, same die, so that it would layer together perfectly. And I'm trying out the Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue. I'm really liking it. It also does not set off my asthma. So now I have 3 choices of glue, liquid glue. How awesome is that? These are some Sakura Jelly Roll glaze pens, and I used a black one to add those little stamens in the center of the flowers and a green one at the base of those berries. Now I'm using some of the gold glimmer paint from Hero Arts. That's from that last Hero Arts kit from August. They had pots of that. See that shimmer and the glaze and the glimmer paint? That all adds amazing things. Here I am trying to fix my hand in the wet paint moment. I'm trying first with a Signo white gel pen. It covered it somewhat, but not the way I really wanted it to. Added some chipboard behind the watercolor wash panel. Well, not really wash. Well, you know. Then I'm going to glue this down. Okay, I glue it down, and then I realize that my card base is just a little, it isn't matting well, not evenly. So I'm going to take and trim that down a little bit in a moment. I'm just going to add some dabs of this Craft Tacky glue on the back of the coordinating word dies that came with the Grateful for Everything stamp set from Concord and 9th. Just little dots of glue. I'm really liking this glue. I like having options. It's pretty awesome. It didn't leave any shiny spots, and it actually didn't goop out underneath the letters. That was pretty easy to do. Finding my placement, and then I'm going to glue this down with more of that Craft Tacky glue. Just putting it all over. I get it down, and then I look at it, push on it, put my heavy weight on it, and then I think, oh no, I want it in a slightly different spot. So I was able to pry that off quick. Then I'm going to cut off the excess, and I want to use that excess on the inside of the card. So I maybe shouldn't have glued it to the chipboard. Now you're going to see just how good that glue is. It took me some time to peel that chipboard coaster off, or the coaster blank off, and it didn't all come off. That is some good glue, and it did not take a whole lot of glue to get it to stick that way. So I do finally manage to get all of that coaster peeled off. So then I put more of the craft tacky glue on that and stick it to the back, or to the inside of the card. I think that really dresses up the inside, and it doesn't waste any of the coloring that I'd already done. I love it when you can make your scraps work this way. Have to trim a little bit off the edge, so almost all of that image gets used. And that's it for the inside of the card. Now we're going to add some Nuvo crystal drops in the clear crystal. No, what is that called? Morning Dew? Yes, Morning Dew. That's the name of it. And I had a bubble in there, so I kept trying to get rid of it. Just adding a few of these random dots. I think they really add to the finished product also. Plus, dew on these is just perfect. It's really wet and cold here. It's certainly acting like late fall already. It's barely even 60 degrees out today. Tapping that to flatten those dots a little bit. Then I'm going to take some Dr. P.H. Martin's Pen White, which is a, it's like the innards of a white gel pen. And I add just a little bit of water to my paintbrush, and I'm finishing up hiding that smearing I did. And this actually works pretty well. This may, you know, when I do Copic coloring, I use my Signo white gel pen to touch up areas that I've colored outside the lines. But this is working pretty well for watercolor. I'd never tried that before. Glad I did. Turned out pretty good. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please come back and see me again soon. Don't forget to hit subscribe and make sure you click the bell so you get notifications for each time that I post. I will also have an accompanying blog post. Check it out. Thanks. Bye.